This is the Kitchen Sink WP Podcast, episode 350.
I program my home computer.
We have a server crash, 404 error, page not found, links aren't working, system is crashing, system is crashing, system is crashing.
Your old HTML website, barely alive. We have the technology. We have WordPress. A new website, better than it was before. Better, stronger, faster. We have the technology.
Why, hello everybody, this is Adam Silver, the host of the Kitchen Sink WP Podcast. Thanks for being here. Let's get started. All right, first and foremost, upcoming events. Now, it turns out I mentioned these last weekend. I didn't realize that I had them on the wrong sheet in the documentation that I do for my show preparation, but I'll mention them again. WordCamp Finland Online 2020. It's November 12th. It is this upcoming weekend, not this past weekend. Sorry about that. Also, just want to mention WordFest. Once again, wordfest.live. Call for speakers. That event is January 22nd, 2021. I want to share that with you as well. All right, moving on. Segment one in the news. Kind of a light week, but I did see this over at WordPress.com on their blog. Automatic has released a theme called the SpearHead Theme, and I mention it because it's initially conceived as a theme for podcasters, for like people like me or like you. Maybe you have a podcast. It's a blank canvas for all types of content creators, and it fully supports latest in the multimedia block arena. And I have another podcast that I'm working on producing and getting out there called 1 Minute Motivation. It's over at oneminimotivation.com. If you go to /pre-launch, you can participate by giving me 1 minute of what motivates you to do what you do. I would love to have your voice on that other show. Anyway, so this looks interesting. I've already built the theme out for the site, but I'm always interested in other themes as well, especially for podcasters. There's a self-hosted version that you can grab from the GitHub mono repository. I'll put a link to that in the show notes as well. It's under the SpearHead subdirectory. So that is it. That's it in the news. Yeah, that's it in the news. Like I said, kind of a light news week in the WordPress space. Moving on to segment 2, meat potatoes. But first, I want to mention and thank our sponsor this week. Once again, we have Backup Buddy by iThemes. Now, who again is the original 3-in-1 WordPress backup plugin that backs up, restores, and migrates your WordPress website? Yes, it's Backup Buddy from iThemes. In case you didn't know, WordPress does not include a way to build a backup system built in. So the amazing team over at iThemes created the Backup Buddy plugin way back in 2010. It's been 10 years, a solid 10 years of experience. So they know what they're doing across the board there. Now, you may have felt that you have a level of security from your hosting company. I know I did at one point, but not all companies do great backups. It's not necessarily a great thing to just rely on one place for a failover. What if the server gets crashed or gets hacked? It does happen. I know from personal experience, if you recall me talking about this not too long ago. Backup Buddy is a customizable. It allows you to back up your entire WordPress installation, including your database, your WordPress files, media library files, plugin files, and theme files. And if you're afraid you may forget to even do it, don't worry about that because you can set up a backup schedule to run automatically. It's pretty cool. So also, let's not forget that before my life in WordPress, I was a photographer. My assets were my life. Those images that I shot at an event, at a wedding, I had to have backups. And I wanted to have 3 backups to be exact. So I like to spread them out, off-site, different places, different hard drives. Guess what? You can safely store your backup files from a WordPress off-site in Dropbox, Amazon S3, Google Drive, or even Backup Buddy's Stash service. So if you're looking for an easy-to-use, solidly built backup solution for your WordPress website, head over to iThemes.com/Backup Buddy. Use coupon code SINKWP, that's SINKWP, and save 25% of your purchase. Thanks again to iThemes for sponsoring this week's episode. All right, moving on to segment 2, the meat potatoes of this week's episode. Getting started later in life. We're talking ageism about in the world that we're in right now. And the reason I mention this is because as of today, this episode coming out on November 9th, that's right, it's my birthday. And I am 50 years old. And I was thinking about this recently, like, is it a thing? Am I going to start seeing this in my life? Am I going to be aged out of what I do? It's kind of awkward, to say the truth. So, in preparing for this week's episode, I did a bunch of research, reading a lot of articles online about the issue, asking some friends of mine in the space that I work in, of course. And like those questions I asked were, do you believe ageism is a thing in technology or in the world? Do you ever experience it in tech or in your own workplace? Because I asked some people outside of technology as well. And at what age did you come into the tech world, assuming it's not your first career? A lot of people get into WordPress as a second or third career. And do you think ageism is connected to gender So that was interesting as well. I'd like to toss that in there. And I have a slew of different answers and research on my own here. But before I get to those answers, I want to share with some interesting facts and myths about age and tech and the workplace. Fact, first and foremost, between the years 2008 and 2015, ageism was a subject of 226 official complaints filed against Silicon Valley's biggest tech companies. And it's crazy to think that. I mean, it seems not a whole lot. 226 doesn't seem like that many technically, but I can't imagine that it's not growing, right? We're already 5 years after the study. And of course, some people have even done plastic surgery that try to hide their age. Now, age, it can impact the way that workers are treated. It's not veiled just within technology. In recent years, flurries of stories have surfaced about tech workers being laid off and replaced by younger employees, right? Or older employees remaining unemployed for a much longer period of time. So that's a fact. Okay. Myth number one. Here's a myth for you. Older tech workers are less valued. Okay. While the average tech worker is, let's say, approximately 5 years younger than the average non-tech worker, it's a misconception that older workers are less valued in tech. Now, from the age of 40 years old and onward, non-manager workers in tech enter the tech sage age and increasingly are likely to receive a top performer rating as they age, mature, and gain experience. Now, conversely, the opposite side of that coin, a proportion of top performers decreases with the age in non-tech industries. It's kind of interesting there. Here's another fact for you. People over 50 years of age, like myself now, as of this recording, make great role models and mentors. It's true, we do. Experienced employees are confident, we have better understanding of the workplace politics, we can serve as mentors to younger workers, which provides intangibles, really, things that you just can't put a price on that benefit the overall organization. Now, companies with strong mentorships and programs like that will enjoy much, much, much lower cost in training and less turnover of new employees in general because they're getting guidance. The new employees are getting guidance from people who have the experience. Okay, that's a fact. Another fact I want to mention here is that twice as many successful entrepreneurs are over 50 as they are as under 25. But the question, like, why? How could that be? Is that true? It is true. Trust me, I did the research. I think it's true because the experience has been garnered. Starting something when you're younger is, quote, easier, end quote. I use air quotes there. Because you don't have the responsibility of a mortgage or a family. You can kind of work 20 hours a day if you so want to. But at the same time, you don't have the network of people, of business experience, the savings financially of a runway to be in it for the long haul. Because not every entrepreneur is trying to be acquired by a bigger tech company within 18 months. And growth takes time. And having that time, having that patience, having that knowledge that it's going to take time to grow something bigger than yourself that you might want to sell is surely there. But at the same token, over 50-year-old people have just the more patience, I think, is what the difference is as well. So, okay. I want to mention now answers from some of my peers and friends. The questions were this again. Do you believe that ageism is a thing in tech? Do you have experience in this? What age did you come into the tech world, assuming it was your first career, etc.? And I'll mention some names. I'll leave some names out. Sally, who does some work with me, and she's a good friend, she thinks it is a thing, of course. I mean, everyone agreed that it is a thing for the most part. She thinks that older tech workers could be more expensive because of other industries as well, because our lives might cost more as we have mortgages and financial responsibilities. So there is a potential there. The issue of gender, she speculates maybe, but she also feels, and she knows, and we do know from a fact also, that women are just paid less in general across all industries, which is unfortunate. And I asked Sally, why did she start her career later in life in technology? And from her, it was a perspective of the path that she was on was an end-of-life path. I mean, she didn't want to become management, or there was no manager role for her to take into because her manager wasn't leaving. So she did pivot, and she got into this a little bit later. So my friend of mine, Elisa, who's been on the show, actually, so is Sally. They've both been on the show. Yes, it exists. No, she's never experienced it. Due to the case that she is still relatively young and came in from a young age at 24. It was her first career. It wasn't her first choice career, but she fell back on it from a hobby because she has a master's in library science. And then at least I had this interesting contribution to the conversation. She thinks the perceived order of ageism connected to gender is, I guess, in priority of who gets attention first. Young men, then young women, older men, older women. So in a way, young women are more desirable than older men, but women are always second place in their age group, which is definitely something to consider, interestingly enough. And lastly here, my buddy Joe says possibly that ageism is a thing in tech, but it's a combination in his case. And Joe also has been on the show before. He was on, I don't know what episode it was. Actually, everyone who I've asked has been on the show. He's been doing his job for 29 years. And the takeaway that he had was that it's his own issue. It's his doing for not being a part of the cliques and the process of the politics within a big, large company. I mean, he's been there for 29 years. It's a big place to be. I mean, a long time to be at a big company, and you have to sometimes play that game. So, he came into technology at 22, back when the Mac SE was his first university computer, but it does take time to get the experience that he has, but he hasn't been affected because he's been somewhere for so long, but he hasn't maybe gone as far in a career because he hasn't played the game to their process, with his words. So there you have it. So where does that leave us? Where does that leave me? Where does that leave you as we all get older in this industry that we're in? I don't know. I don't have the definitive answer. I'm not concerned about myself at the moment because I'm not, quote, looking for a job. I have a job. I have a company. I employ other people. I think if I was looking for some work outside of my own thing, I think it may come up. I don't know what's going to happen in the next 5 or 10 years for my life when it comes to employment, but it's definitely now on the forefront of my brain. So maybe it should be on yours too. So if you have any feedback on that, I would love to hear it from you. By all means, you know how to reach me. All right, moving on. Segment 3, tip and tool of the week. This week's tip, it's a website, AARP. I'm just kidding, not AARP. Actually, it's hashtag.expert. My friend Jason Tucker mentioned this to me just last week. It's a place to get help with hashtags if you're using Instagram. So if you're not really good with the whole social media thing, there's a service that can help do this. And I am not good with Instagram at all since I'm not even on it. So thought I'd share that with you. I have no connection to them, but you can check them out over at hashtag.expert. So that is it for this week. If you have any questions, go ahead, send it in via email, adam@KitchensinkWP.com, or use the speak pipe function on the website. If you want to support the show, you can do that. Become a Patreon on the website. You can also fill out a form to sponsor the show. And thanks to Backup Buddy by iThemes for sponsoring this week's episode. Thanks for listening. See you next week. And now go out and do some awesome things with WordPress. All right? Bye-bye.